Welcome to the Lean Solutions Podcast. This is the podcast that adds value to leaders by helping you improve performance using process improvement solutions with bottom line results. My name is Patrick Adams, and this season I'll be joined by three other amazing hosts, including Catherine McDonald from Ireland, Andy Olrich from Australia, and Shayne Daughenbaugh from the United States. Join us as we bring you guests and experiences of lean practitioners from all over the world. Hello and welcome to the Lean Solutions Podcast, Season 3. This is our kickoff episode, and my name is Patrick Adams. I have with me a few of the other hosts that you'll see during this season of the Lean Solutions Podcast, so I'll let them introduce themselves. But if you're not familiar with any of the hosts that you'll be hearing from today, you can go back to the previous 3 or 4 episodes and get a real deep dive into their backgrounds, a little bit about their approach, and even learn some of the tools that they use within the companies that they're working with or for. And so anyways, I'll kind of turn this over. Shayne, you want to quick introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks so much. I am Shayne Daughenbaugh. Happy to be here.
All right. Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine McDonald.
And g'day, I'm Andy Olrich.
All right. Well, today we're just going to have some open conversation. We got a couple topics planned to discuss today. The topic for today's session is getting your organization off the ground. And for those of you that are watching the video, you can probably see that Shayne has some really amazing work going on behind him. I think you're in the middle of a Kaizen event, right? You're getting this organization
yes,
off,
sir.
Right?
Yeah, yep. This is actually a brand new program that we're trying to get off the ground.
Nice.
So yeah, very excited about it.
Nice. Are you guys hitting any roadblocks or any challenges, or how's it going?
Other than it being a new program, like the biggest challenge is, did we cover everything? Like, there's a lot of money involved in this program, and so there's a lot of potential risk, a lot of potential scrutiny. So we're just trying to mind all of our P's and Q's and make sure that there's no gaps. We mapped this out last week, and then this week we're bringing in subject matter experts that were not able to be here so that they can give us their 2 cents on, hey, does this make sense? I mean, this map is going to be reviewed by probably 6 or 7 different divisions in this company. And then, even then we're still taking it to the execs afterwards and seeing what they say and making sure that it meets what their needs are in regards to what we're trying to design. So very exciting, very exciting.
That's great. I love seeing Post-it notes on the wall. Anybody else with me?
Yeah.
So, and we're a month into the quarter here. The 4 of us haven't been together since before the end of the year. So I'll just kind of throw it out there. How was everybody's Christmas, New Year's? How has the beginning of the year been for all of you?
Yeah, great, Patrick. It's sort of as usual. The time off goes far too fast. And then you wish you had go back and do it all over again. But no, look, you have to go back to work, and I think you're better off just getting into it, getting stuck in, and not thinking about it too much. So yeah, it's going well. It's going well. I have a few projects on now that I've carried over from last year, so we're getting back into those. Couple of projects with service sector and nonprofits, and then I have a lot of leadership coaching coming up in the next couple of weeks as well, finishing out programs from last year. So kept busy.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a very busy end to the year, like most of you, or all of you did, I'd say. But yeah, now I'm back into it. I had a very nice, relaxing Christmas, New Year's break, but this is my sharpening the saw week this week. There's not everybody's back at work where I am now, and I'm really lining up the plans and getting my plans for the year aligned and up on the wall, and starting to do some initial reach outs. So there is some carryover from some projects we started last year, but and some new ones that we'd put a pin in to kick off early in this quarter. So yeah, lots happening, but I had a fantastic Christmas, and yeah, ready to give 2024 a good shake.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good year. I'm especially excited for this season's podcast. It's going to be a learning curve for all of us, right? Before we hit record, we were all just kind of laughing and joking about, some of the hiccups that we've already had, and just working through a new process, and excited for what this season will bring to all the listeners, but also always a little hesitant on just some of the hiccups that come when you change things, right? Change is inevitable, and all of us are proponents of positive change, and we all believe this is one of them. So I'm excited. This year coming up, we have a really awesome schedule of topics that we're going to be discussing. Now, for those of you that are listening in, the four of us are not going to be on every single show. So the four of us are sharing the responsibility of co-hosts for season 3. So in the beginning, these first few episodes, you'll see my face probably quite a bit in the beginning, and then that will start to change, and the position of kind of the lead host will start to pass off to Andy, Catherine, and Shayne as well. But we'll always have 2 hosts on the show for season 3. So you'll have 2 of us on every single show going forward into this year. And I'll just kind of throw out here some of the topics that we have coming up. Applying 2-second lean. So Paul Akers actually gave me a recommendation for an individual who has taken 2-second lean, and just it's blown up their organization. And so we're gonna reach out to Alex Ramirez and have Alex on to talk about some of the application of 2-second lean within their organization and what it's done. So I'm excited about that episode. Anybody familiar with 2-second lean? Have you guys? Yeah. You guys use 2-second lean? Yeah,
I've got the app, and it's great. Paul stuff's really, really good.
Yeah. And then we have like lean versus Six Sigma as a topic. That's always a fun one, right? You have all the Six Sigma gurus out there,
sparring going on,
the lean geeks, and we'll try to throw out both sides of the coin and just see what happens there. So I've worked for, obviously, I think that all of us are aligned with the fact that we believe that both methodologies have amazing tool sets, and there's application for many of the tools in the methodology and all the work that we do. But I was part of an organization that was very heavy Six Sigma, and then I was part of an organization that was very heavy lean. And so being at both of those 2 organizations, it was really interesting to see and experience the different approaches and how the tool sets were used to solve problems and drive to root cause and those types of things. You guys have any similar experiences at organizations that you've been at?
I don't. I've just, most of mine has been Lean Six Sigma. Like the combination of the 2, finding both of them working together in concert. So
sure.
Yeah, I've had an experience where it's been very much lean focused, and we don't leave Six Sigma behind. It was seen as complex, and whereas again another organization was Six Sigma is fundamental, complemented by lean with this getting in and the reducing variation and those sorts of things, having a few more numbers and things behind it. But I'm in the middle where with my approach, it's as you said, there's specific tool sets for specific situations,
right?
Yeah.
So use a hammer if you have a nail, and use a drill if you have a screw, right? I mean, let's use the right tools for the job. Some of the other topics that we have, let's see here, celebrating failures. Mark Graven's, he just published a book this last year. So I'd love to dive into, the power of failures and the importance of celebrating failures, right? And learning from them, celebrating the failures that we learn from, I guess, right? I think the only good failures are the ones that we learn from. If we're failing and just not doing anything with that, then that's a problem, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's all very well to say we accept mistakes. It's okay for, for something to not go right. But if that keeps happening and if there's a pattern of it, we're doing something wrong, we're not learning. So it's a case of, I remember working in one company and they actually ended up recording near misses because they were recording the instance, but not the near misses. And it was by recording the near misses that they actually then had most of their actual learning from, because it was too late when the accident actually happened. So it's a good way to think about it, is to kind of, to take that into account as well,
Absolutely. For sure.
Great lead indicators, those near misses, with this in particular around safety. Catching that or understanding it before it's a thing. It's nearly a thing, and it's a great one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see, what else do we have on the schedule here? Why does lean fail? So that's a topic that we have coming up. Why does lean fail? Creating a people first lean culture. How many of us have been involved in organizations where they say they put people first, right? But it doesn't actually happen.
Right.
So what does that look like for an organization to really, truly put people first? And what are the results of that? What are the benefits of putting people first? Have you guys experienced anything like that, or the opposite, an organization that doesn't put people first?
Unfortunately,
I look at our faces and all of us just kind of big eyes and go, it's crazy. It's crazy to sound. I mean, it just sounds so like counterintuitive or counter what lean is all about. I mean, that's one of the things that has endeared me to lean, is not so much the fact that, yes, it does improve the processes that we're working with, that it does improve the flow and it gives the value to our customer. But I love, in regard to if we talk about the Six Sigma versus lean, how it seems like people are more in the forefront when it comes to lean. So when I see people that say they're proponents of lean, or companies or organizations, but they don't follow that up immediately with how they treat people better because of this. Instead, maybe it's way back there somewhere on the train, about people, then it kind of makes me shake my head and go, you kind of missed the boat here.
Mm.
And I think it's a great one to share what I call horror stories around where it goes wrong with lean. And people say, oh, that stuff doesn't work. And you peel under that layer a little bit more, and it was brought in under the guise of cost cutting first, and we'll see who comes along,
right,
as opposed to that foundational piece that I'm very passionate about, is around the people first, and those sorts of stories around where it goes wrong. And it helps. I think it's great with this podcast, especially as we can share those things, and when you're in the moment and you can hear something, oh, that sounds familiar to, it's a bit of a red flag for people. They can sort of get ahead of it if they can hear a couple of things aligning together or see that. Yeah, this is not what we mean when we talk about lean. So I think it's a great topic to bring in.
Nice. Good. Two more that I'll just throw out here before we get into today's topic. Mistakes young leaders make. I think that's a good one. I've heard a lot of, there's a lot of people that are new into leadership roles and don't necessarily know what to do. Maybe they were promoted because they were really good at running a piece of equipment, or they were really good at whatever job they are, but they've never actually led people before, and they don't know what to do or what's right, what's wrong. So I think that's a really, really great topic. And then the other one that I have here.
Please tell me Catherine's on that one. Please tell me Catherine's going to be on that one, because I really want to hear the executive leadership coach.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. That's going to be a great show.
Did you hear my piece on why I'm a Peter Principle case? I was explaining that in one of the recordings some time back, but you should listen. I'm a typical case, so I can talk about it all day long.
I'm looking forward to it for sure. A typical case of learning from your mistakes, right?
Yeah. It's a great icebreaker when people are nervous about stepping forward. I say, hey, if you think you've stuffed something up before, just take a seat and I'll tell you something that I did. Okay. It's like I'm very, very happy to share those exceptional failures. Yeah, how you learn.
That's right. Yeah, humility is a big part of being a great lean leader, right? I mean, the ability, the willingness to admit that you're not perfect and admit that you make mistakes, and not only admit, but also understand and know exactly what you're changing or what you've learned from that mistake and how you're doing things differently going forward. I mean, that's such an important aspect of being a good lean leader.
Yeah, and also to not look for perfection from other people so much, because I think that was my mistake years ago starting out.
Right.
You come out of college, you think you've all the answers. You see, what's needed, how things should change, and you expect everybody else to meet those standards or for the organization. It's just not that easy, So yeah, I think both of those things are important.
So true. So true. Well, the last one that I have just in front of me here coming out this year is the title of this. I really like it. It's Lean Sucks. And then in parentheses after that, if you're not doing it right. So lean sucks if you're not doing it right. And that's I see that so often. Obviously the book that I wrote was specifically on an organization that said they were lean, but they weren't doing it right. Clearly, it was the appearance of lean, not necessarily having a true culture of continuous improvement. And so lean really sucked. People hated it. It was the flavor of the month stuff. It was, oh my gosh, we get to do this stuff again. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. And that really sucks when it's not applied properly, when people don't understand the why behind it, when they don't see the benefits and the value, because it isn't being done right. Craig Tedrow, who works with Lean Solutions, he likes to talk about his time with a company where he says he was a floor employee. He was actually running a piece of equipment. And he says, lean was done to me, not with me. It was done.
I've heard him say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has anybody heard of the circuses in town analogy when it comes to lean and continuous improvement?
No.
No.
Well, I hadn't heard of it either, but an employee said to me, just be careful that you're not bringing the circus to town again. I said, okay, can you explain that to me a bit more? And he said, well, I've been here a while. And he said, I see it as with what we've tried in the past is it's like when the circus comes to town, there's a whole heap of signs, they put up a temporary fence, there's all this noise made and all this excitement and things happen. And then it's here for a while and then it's gone again. And then, it swings back around. Oh, hey, we've got this thing. He said, I always think of it, it's like, the circus is back in town. Can we just maybe try and make it stay this time? And we put a permanent fence up and we put a proper car park in. It's not everybody looks at it as I wonder how long this is going to last this time around for those that have been there a while. So I found that was a pretty interesting way of thinking about it. And I do lean on that now and go, well, is this too much? Is there too many clowns and fireworks and things here? Or am I making sure that the good foundational things are in place before we get too excited? So,
wow. I love that analogy. Unfortunately have experienced it a lot too with many organizations, but I can see where that would be frustrating, right? Wow. Okay, so let's dive into our topic for today. So I'm going to share my screen for those of you that are watching the video. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to talk to this in detail though. So for those of you that are listening in on your favorite podcast platform, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll talk through this little diagram here in detail. The diagram that you all are seeing, I threw this up at the Lean Solutions Summit this past year. And the reason why it came out to me was because a similar diagram to this was shown to me a few years earlier. And, just within this last year, I've actually started learning how to fly. So I'm doing my ground school and working on learning how to fly. Any of you guys fly at all, or you've all been in an airplane?
No, that's awesome.
Yes. But I am working on my pilot's license, so I'm excited about that. But the first thing that I learned was this whole idea of lift, thrust, weight, and drag, which is what you use to get an airplane off the ground and into the air, right? Given today's topic, get your organization off the ground. I thought this would be a good diagram just to take a look at. So the way that flight works is weight and lift oppose each other, just like thrust and drag oppose each other. So in order for a plane to fly, you have to have lift and then you have to have thrust to move it forward. But your lift has to be greater, it has to be a greater force than your weight that's bringing it down. So as long as lift is greater than weight, it will go up. And then as long as thrust is greater than drag, it'll go forward. So the moment that your weight or gravity is a heavier force than lift, that's when your plane either won't get off the ground or it'll start to come down. And similarly, if drag is greater than thrust, it will slow down and eventually fall out of the sky. So I love this analogy because it really makes me think about organizations that are trying to get off the ground with their lean initiatives. And, so I threw some thoughts on here and I just want to kind of talk through these. So again, those of you that are listening, I'll just kind of mention a couple of these. When it comes to weight and drag, what holds organizations back? What keeps organizations on the ground? A lack of top level commitment and support, a lack of focus on customer needs, lack of employee engagement, lack of clear expectations, overemphasis on cost cutting. Shayne, you mentioned that a little bit ago. Failure to sustain, lack of enabled action. So these are all things that keep the airplane or keep the organization on the ground. Those things that help elevate us, that help lift us, that give us thrust. This would be daily management, daily Kaizen, commitment to self-development, coaching and developing others, creating vision, aligning goals, structured problem solving, standardized work, standardized leader standard work. These are all things that if they're greater than the negative stuff that I mentioned earlier, then those are going to help us get our organizations off the ground. All of us have experience with many of these different areas. I just want to kind of open it up to the group. When you guys see this diagram, what do you think of? Anybody have any thoughts or ideas? I mean, what comes to mind when you see this?
I mean, first of all, I really appreciate the diagram in how that you have the opposing forces to actually launching. And I think the analogy is pretty spot on here with that, with the things that drag you down or cause weight and the things that can actually lift or thrust. I just appreciate this as an analogy of launching a business or getting a business off the ground, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, it is. I actually love it as well. It's so concise and there's so much in it, and it explains lean deployment so well in terms of what pushes it forward and what holds back, and it's very simple to read. I love it. I would say that it also helps me understand why lean fails, and we often hear that talked about so much, and we said it's going to be one of our topics as well. Why does lean fail? But I just think when you look at this and you look at what's necessary for lean to work, it's not that it's difficult, it's just the commitment it takes to doing these things, like coaching other people, daily Kaizen, even standardized work. And so many organizations are actually so far away from so many of these things, and they don't understand that actually, I suppose, lean or bringing a bit of structure in, the benefits of doing that. So I think that just really sums all that up for me so well in terms of the issues and then the opportunities. It's great.
Yeah, show me a picture. I'm such a visual guy, and I think for me, when we have these simple images put up with those things called out, it's a really good checkpoint to go, okay, what is our level of top level support to this, and etc. And I really like it too, like Lean and Lean Six Sigma. It's very scalable as well. Like I would look at this as well for it being applicable to any improvement initiative. There's key parts of all of that I think make get that initiative off the ground within a broader program or deployment model. So yeah, and I've been watching a lot of Top Gun over the holidays as well. So it's the plane is just it's just when they're in that death spiral in one of the scenes there, I'm thinking, sometimes it goes like that too, right? And how do you pull out? Who's the first to blink and actually pull themselves out of that? But great picture, Patrick. Thank you for sharing.
Andy,
now I would
see the new.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Watch the old one.
Sorry?
Which Top Gun did you watch? The newest one?
Yeah, Maverick. It's just come out on Netflix down here in Australia. So I'd seen it before, but yeah, it's I'm getting in trouble now for not this again. So yeah, it's a great one. Bit of fun.
I was going to say, as I'm looking at this, I appreciate there's what looks like to me kind of opposites, and they're from the two corners: the lack of top level commitment and support, which Andy, you mentioned, kind of the drag side of things, and on the thrust side of things is that create vision and align goals. Like I see those two as opposites. I would love to hear, from some of you that have been at this a little longer than I have, how you help an organization or leadership. Because as I think that top level commitment and support comes in the way of a vision and aligning goals. How do you help an organization or leadership create that vision? If they don't have it, or maybe it's just not aligned with what their goals are, how do you have that conversation with them? I'd love to hear some of that.
Hello, everyone. I am sorry to interrupt this episode of the Lean Solutions podcast, but I wanted to take a moment to invite you to pick up a copy of my Shingo award-winning book, Avoiding the Continuous Appearance Trap. In the book, I contrast the cultures of two companies I worked for. And though each started with similar lean models, one was mechanistic and only gave the appearance of lean, while the other developed a true culture of continuous improvement. The contrast provides a vivid example of the difference between fake lean and true lean. You can find the book on Amazon. Simply search my name or the title of the book. You aren't a reader? No worries. The audiobook is also available on Audible. Now, back to the show. Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, I think one of the things that I always want to be careful of is there's no cookie cutter approach, right? So you can't take this diagram and just think that, if I just do all of these things, then we're going to create a true culture of continuous improvement. Now, this is an enabler for sure, but I think it all depends on the organization, the industry, the team, where they're at in their journey. There's just so many factors that have to be taken into consideration to answer your question, Shayne. But what I will say is, what I think would be a really great exercise is to look at top level commitment and support. And as a leadership team, let's define that together. What does that look like? What does it mean to have top level commitment and support to us as a leadership team? And then maybe we'll ask the frontline leaders and the rest of the organization, what does it look like to have top level commitment and support? Like, if it was happening, what would you be experiencing? What would you be feeling? What would you be seeing? And then, use that to develops, maybe that is how you create your leader standard work, by taking the output of that and then creating intentional actions that are happening by leaders to show that they do have commitment and support. And I think one of those is creating vision and aligning goals, right? So the on the checklist would be, I want my leadership team to create a long-term vision, tell me where we're going, and then help me to align my goals to that, so that I know that the work that I'm doing every day is helping us to get closer to that. So I need top level leadership to help make that happen and show support, remove roadblocks, ask how it's going, and hold me accountable to the goals that I've set for my team. Right. Those are all things that I would hope to see in that list. So again, that's just how granular do you get with that? Let's say I'm frontline worker and you're an executive, and so your vision and goals are typically very lofty. But I love how you said, and I'd love to hear some fleshing out of, tell me how my work can actually lend itself toward and build upon or push forward our vision and our goals as a company or an organization. How do you take those executive lofty goals, that whatever they might be, and translate them into the common language that, a frontline worker can then go, oh, this is how I can do it? Because we've seen how if you're in lean and, for any amount of time, how we have SMART goals, and those SMART goals can trickle down if you have a hierarchy organization.
the supervisor to the manager to the frontline worker, and then back up how we could support each other's goals. But what I have found that frontline workers or those that are elbows deep in the work have a hard time with is if the leadership has asked them, hey, tell me how your goals align to mine, and they're like, I don't know. Like sometimes the organization is either so big or they're so deep, so far removed from leadership goals that they have a really difficult time. Like they know, hey, I am doing this. I'm creating, I'm designing a road. I don't know how it necessarily, goes to the state highway plan. I guess it's in there somewhere, but the actual work that I do, I don't know. So I'm going back to my question. Sorry, I'm circular in my thinking here, but how can we help leadership to create vision and goals that can be translated or scaled down to that frontline worker or, those that are elbows deep in the work? And
Catherine,
how important is that?
Yeah.
Catherine, you've done a lot in this space. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, actually, we do. So I think first of all, it's whether we're talking about lean goals or whether we're talking about, let's say, overall organizational goals, because a lot of the time what happens is we'll go into an organization that's already exists. We're not talking about a new organization, but an organization that already exists. And what will happen, we'll try and bring lean in, train people in lean, deploy lean. But oftentimes in the past, I think lean has sat aside from what the actual organizational goals are. So as lean consultants, I think the first thing to do is understand in a very simple, on a balanced scorecard, get it down on one page, what are the organization's goals? So, you know what your balanced scorecard is, you've got your 4 or 5 areas, and you're saying very basically, what are the goals? And then what are we going to do with lean here? How is lean going to help us achieve these very simple goals? And then I think once you've got that level of clarity, it becomes much easier then to have conversations. And actually, it's in that diagram, the importance of coaching and developing others. The thing about it is if you keep your goals simple and you keep them, a goal should be inspiring to everybody. A goal that's written on let's say a balanced scorecard, anybody should read it and go, that's a great goal, because obviously we want our employees and everybody to be involved in the creation. I've done vision, mission, and values workshops, and they're so good for bringing cross sections of employees in to actually understand those elements, vision, mission, and values, and then how they transpire into goals. And I think once you do that and you keep doing that and you keep repeating that every year and you keep bringing having that discussion on from a strategic point of view in your coaching sessions with your teams and individuals, you actually don't have to align goals for people. They'll align what they're doing to the goals if the proper work has been done in the first place for the people working in the organization to understand what it's all about. Does that make sense? Because that's the way I see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. The key point that you mentioned in my mind is the coaching aspect. You mentioned one-on-ones and coaching and communication. I mean, if leaders are communicating regularly and intentionally on what their goals are and what their vision is for their group and how those goals align, then everything else should fall into place. But the problem comes when there's this where leaders are removed from what's happening, and there's this big gap or this wall in between, what's happening in operations or in the operating room or wherever it may be, and what's being discussed with leadership, and we need to close that gap. And that comes through intentional coaching and one-on-ones and constant and intentional communication around the vision and those goals.
I think with this, why I love a plan on a page or an A3, those sorts of things. This picture, okay, for me, when I look at that, it's a great conversation starter. If nothing else, it's in each of those areas we can look at, and you touched on it, Patrick, was around, okay, well, lack of top level commitment and support. Well, what does that even mean? The conversations that I have with leaders is around, well, if you don't, how much support do you need from me? What does that look like? Show me what it looks like if in this area, if we're doing it to how we should be doing it.
Right.
And it's a good little leveler to sort of baseline on each of those boxes, for example, around the plane is, okay, well, do we even know what that means? Where are we now? Those sorts of questions, and what's enough for us. So we're not trying to overdo it in too many ways, because too much thrust or too much lift can be a problem as well. So I think it's any of these images with some call outs around the side. I think it's a really good opportunity for that first kickers to say, well, standardized work, what does that mean here? Are there some examples of it? And what's going well? What are some examples that we would like to showcase to others who've never seen this before and don't connect with it, or how? And the point there, I think it was Shayne or Catherine, sorry, I can't remember, was around, the frontliners, the people on the floor is, well, we're all talking about this stuff up here. Can you connect with that? Is this language even making sense? Where do you see us with the plane? Those sorts of things. So I'm just such a passionate advocate for just show me a picture and put some key things around it, just to get us, that gives you your framework for what you're going to talk about, but a really good opportunity to do a bit of a self-assessment or baseline, or bring someone in like Catherine, et cetera, to help you drag that out. So,
right. Yeah. And you mentioned the self-assessment. I mean, this could be a regular occurring process that you're going through, right? Whether it's quarterly or monthly or whatever it might be, but going back to that picture, maybe if that's what makes the most sense for you and your team, go back to that picture and ask yourselves, how are we doing? Are we on course? Are we still on the ground? Where are we at as far as where we want to be, which again should be laid out by executive leaders or your top level leaders on where are we heading? What's the vision? But then once you have that, right, and you connected all of those dots, coming back and revisiting that on a regular basis to kind of reflect and go, okay, what's working, what's not working? What do we need to do differently? Do we need more emphasis on daily Kaizen? Do we need more emphasis on coaching and developing others? Are we being held back by this overemphasis on cost cutting? Is there a lack of employee engagement, right? Having those conversations and then taking action to actually make things happen, right?
I think
Sorry,
you
Shayne,
said something interesting, Patrick. The things we're talking about right here, actually employee engagement. And, we like to use those terms, some of those terms you have on there, and I appreciate how from the very beginning it was like, hey, we should probably define these as an organization if we're going to take off, and all of these boxes that we have, those things that lift us up or those things that drag us down, let's define what those are. But I imagine there are many organizations out there, and I could be wrong, and I apologize to all of you if that's the case, but don't understand what employee engagement is. Employee engagement to them means they come in, maybe they just have this vague idea that they come into work and they actually like what they're doing in their work. And that's one thing. But I also agree with all the things that are going around in my little Brady Bunch squares here that you guys are mentioning. These are employee engagements. These are, passing the vision down, bringing it up, having coaching sessions, asking for feedback and having those self-assessments. All of those things are ways that we can engage our employees. And I want to make sure we understand the reason we engage employees is, I guess I should ask the question, why do we need employee engagement? Mm. What's the benefit? What's the goal? Because rather than focus on tasks, hey, this, employee engagement means this task, this task, this task, and this task. Rather than focusing on tasks, what's the goal of employee engagement? Because I think all these things that have been talked about so far can lead toward that employee engagement. But maybe this is for another discussion. We could just keep going.
Yeah, we definitely could. Andy, any brief thoughts before we wrap up for the day on that one for employee engagement?
Yeah, it just brings it back to the people need to be at the front of all of this. And when we talk about engagement, are we truly engaging with them, or are we just communicating? So it's a two-way. It's that catch-ball piece that I really like. It's the top down, bottom up, and everything in between. So where's your plane at? Are you off the ground, or are you still taxiing down the runway, or are you still in the shed? I think it's a great thing for people to just go away and have a little bit of a think about. So great chat. Thanks.
Yeah, then the last thing that I'll say on that too is I actually just came from a coaching session with an individual who's doing a project on changeover reduction, and he said that he has always been the sole problem solver, and because he's a really nice guy and he loves to help out and he knows everything because he's been at the company for a long time. So everybody comes to him, and he said one of the things that I realized through this is these people are coming to me and they're fully capable of doing this, but they're intentionally coming to me for what I now understand as a few reasons. One is they know that I'll solve it for them, so they don't have to think about it. And number two is, where's the accountability at now? The accountability is on me. So if things don't work out, I'm the one that's being held accountable. So there's no ownership either. Now, again, I'm not saying that the setup techs or the operators are doing that intentionally or that they're bad people by any means. But as leaders, we need to build an army of problem solvers, and we need to have shared accountability where everyone's rowing in the same direction towards the same goal, right? And so there's a lot of benefits that come by empowering, engaging the people who are closest to the issue, the problems, the challenges, the value add activities in that, right? They're the experts. They know what's going on, hands down. So we need to involve them in all of the work that we're doing to promote improvement initiatives within our organizations. Well, guys, it's been a great discussion. Again, we have to be careful when we're all four on together, because I feel like we could talk for hours, which is good. We have a lot of time left in the year to have some really, really great conversations. So all of you that are listening in from all around the world, we're inviting you back every Tuesday to listen in on different discussions that we have over this next season. And just super excited to have all of you co-hosting with me. And I'm looking forward to an amazing season. So thanks again for today's discussion. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys. Great time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please give us a review. Thank you so much.